How we doing, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast. I am your host, Richie. On tonight's show, it's going to be an open conversation. We're going to be speaking about many a topic in the sports world, kind of like a hot potato approach with pretty much anything and everything that's on our minds. With me tonight, my guy, Mr. Idris Salam, a.k.a. Bosco, from the Bronx.
Yo.
We're going to be talking about Nestor Cortez, I think. I think we got to talk about what the Yankees are going to do. Yeah, we're going to hit on that momentarily. Not pleased. Not at all. Making his triumphant return from San Antonio, Texas, Mr. Mike Zappy.
Hey. What's going on, gentlemen?
His old Dak and Zeke picture is not old anymore. The only difference is Zeke will now be wearing his college number when they partake in battle this year. But yeah, it's cool that you kept it up because he's back. We're going to speak on some of that team, the Dallas Cowboys, with football on the horizon. We're also going to do a review on Zappy's favorite new video game, NCAA 25.
Yeah, I got to get mine.
Yeah, many a football enthusiast were waiting for that to come back because, football video games have really just one lane for so many years. They didn't, because the kids, in a lot of ways, were getting exploited. Now the kids are getting paid so they can bring it back. Now, hopefully, we could get a fight night game. I've been waiting for a good boxing game.
Yeah, we need it.
We will be right back. We will be right back. Enjoy this intro. All right, we are back. Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast. Sorry about the first 21 seconds of the previous video. Accidentally had a couple of extra windows open. My guys did not hear the echo, but I certainly did. And it sounded like I was kind of talking to myself. And I'm like, Richie, you're being too loud. But it wasn't Richie. It was a different Richie. Yeah. It's like you're living here, but you're really over there.
Yeah.
All right. Mike Zappy, welcome back.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, good to see you. Good to see your face, bro.
It's been a minute, hasn't it?
It has been a minute, bro. I was starting to forget what you look like, man.
I forgot what I look like, too.
Yeah. Shouts out Shane Diesel. Okay. I put together.
Hold on. What did you just say?
I went over his head. The old famous shoebox. Matthew Sear had quite the collection there. Brett became the handler of many. Shut up, Ricardo. Okay. Prior to my knowledge that Idris is going to be joining us, I had a couple of specific questions for Zappy, so I'm going to start with Zappy. But the theme that we're going for tonight, boys, throw a question at you, throw a question at you. We'll see if we meet somewhere. We all get involved. Some of these make the best conversations.
Mm-hmm.
This one actually applies to both of you fellas, being baseball fans. Is the second consecutive pummeling at the hands of the Rays, I was in the attendance for the last one, necessary evidence that it's time for Nestor Cortez to go to the Yankees bullpen?
He ain't look good.
Oh, it's definitely good timing, though, with the trade deadline looming in 10 days. We know for a fact the Yankees are going to be one of the teams that are going to go out and try to get themselves another ace to bring in to team up with Luis Gil, even though hasn't been very good as of late. and of course with Garrett Cole.
Mhm.
Nestor, I'm worried about the guy. I don't know if being a long reliever would be in his future. It kind of feels like Sevy a little bit. So I think it's in the Yankees' best interest to start looking at packages, especially to see what pitchers are going to be available. Teams like the White Sox are going to probably have Dylan Cease available. The Pirates, are they going to move on, or are they going to keep this nucleus together? Because they do have 3 great pitchers on the team, 3 young good pitchers, as well as good batters, where if they make the playoffs, they're going to be a team that makes noise. But as far as Nestor goes, I mean, I think it's time to sound
Correct
the
me if
alarm.
I'm wrong, Zappy. Did Cease end up going to the Padres already?
You did. I caught
Yeah, when
that
you
right
said
as
the
I
White
said that.
when you said the
Yeah.
White Sox, I said, yeah, because he was a subject of trade rumors for many a year before he actually left Chicago. But I knew you knew. I just didn't. All right.
It's going to be interesting. It really is, because I think the Orioles are also going to be a team that's going to be in the market for another pitcher. But when you compare the Orioles and the Orioles have such an amazing prospects right now. When you look at, will they wave a guy like Jackson Holiday around to try to get another ace in there, or will they go a little further down the line? But I think it's going to be interesting to watch what the Orioles and the Yankees do leading up to the trade deadline.
Another thing, some food for thought. I don't think it's out of the question that if the Yankees make a move with somebody to get some bullpen help, that Cortez might actually be part of the deal. Because prior to this rough season, Nestor has had a good run as a New York Yankee. He didn't exactly thrive elsewhere. His stint in Seattle, I believe he was an Oriole for a bit too, and I also believe he had a cup of coffee with the Yankees in the past as well.
Right.
The point is that the Hialeah kid has really fallen off, and under other circumstances, you take a guy like a Carlos Rodon. I've seen Yankee fans say that he reminds them of the failed experiment with Sonny Gray. I'm going to take it a step further and age myself just a little, and I'm going to say it's actually worse than Sonny Gray. I think Rodon reminds me more of Blackjack McDowell in that failed '95 experiment, losing 2 of the 3 games in that epic 5-game series with Ken Griffey Jr. and Edgar Martinez's Seattle Mariners. That was actually the final series of Don Mattingly's career. And it was actually the first series of Derek Jeter's career, as he was not an official rookie. You have to have X amount of games played, X amount of at-bats to be considered a rookie. In '95, Jeter did not play enough to be considered a rookie. He followed that up in '96, actually being the American League Rookie of the Year. But yeah, Zappy, you make a good point. The Orioles do have a ton of farm-level talent that is exceptional. And when you're chasing down a World Series right now, and this is a team that has been starving for one since the 80s, they haven't even been this relevant since the late 90s, early 2000s. There was a sprinklage of some success with Buck Showalter, but they haven't been this legit. I mean, shoot, dude, you got to go back to like the Armando Benitez, Brady Anderson era. Yes,
Ripken,
Cal Ripken, when he made baseball history.
Mm-hmm.
The one I'm going to keep a close eye on is one name, Tariq Skubal of the Tigers.
Good name drop.
That
Good
could
name
come
drop.
in immediately for the Yankees and fix the rotation right away. The Rays, are they going to move on from guys? The Rangers, it's starting to look more and more like we're going to be sellers. So would you guys go after a guy like Max Scherzer, or would you even bring back Andrew Heaney? Jamison Tylan of the Cubs, would you guys do another reunion with him, because the Cubs are going to make him available for trade? There's plenty of arms out there that are going to be available.
The Cubs are going to be selling. The Cubs are going to be selling because they're not bad, but they're not good enough to keep what they got.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's why I think if there's 2 teams that are going to go all in on Tariq Skubal, it's going to be those 2 right there out of the AL East. And I think the Dodgers will be the dark horse out of the National League. But I think that's a guy that the Tigers, they have a team that's ready to go. But why not go get yourself some more prospects to continue the regrowth that they're going through right now? And if the Yankees can pull him out to team up with Garrett Cole, hopefully that'll take some of the pressure off of Luis Gil. Because if you look at it, it's not just Carlos Rodon, it's also Marcus Stroman. He's having an underperforming type of year this year for the Yankees. So there's a lot of things that one pitcher can fix everything, which it'll fix the whole rotation as well as the bullpen and all that. But I definitely think the Yankees are going to be going out to get at least 2 arms and possibly a second baseman, maybe a third baseman. Thinking back to third baseman, how Josh Smith has now played remarkably well for Texas, and he was a guy that was a part of the Joey Gallo trade back a few years ago.
Idris, I'm going to ask you a direct one.
Mm-hmm.
The Los Angeles Dodgers, we know how talented they are.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, even though they are atop of their division, I still view this season as a bit of an underachievement because of the fact that when you have that much talent, I feel that they should be crushing records like the Mariners and the Yankees did of yesteryear. That doesn't mean shit if you win the ultimate prize, which is the World Series. But my question to you, Idris, do the Dodgers have to do anything, or do you just have to be patient and let everybody get healthy?
I said let them get healthy. I'm still not sold on them getting to the World Series. I always feel teams like this, even when Russell was the manager, I always feel teams like this that stack the deck. And it's not like basketball, where LeBron recruits. They just sign a bunch of guys who's like, hey, we want to play in LA.
Their budget is limitless. I mean, I thought in the 90s, Steinbrenner really went hard. This is a different level.
And I think they got the firepower, they got the pitching, they got the hitting, they got everything. They just got to get healthy.
Will Buehler hasn't been himself, but he's back. Kershaw stays hurt.
Yes.
Glasnow's having quite the year, and they're getting it from different places. But even Mookie Betts, he's been on the IL with that hand injury.
And I think with Kershaw.
Go ahead, Idris.
Yeah, with Kershaw, I just never trust him.
It's hard to. The guy's a Hall of Famer, but postseason and then the injuries.
Kershaw regular season, Kershaw postseason.
Two different guys.
And I'm not throwing this at Zappy as a smack. But it reminds me of Dak Prescott. Blows up this incredible during the season. But when the playoffs come, it's like you see a totally different person.
Careful now. He might be your quarterback next year.
He might be. We talked about that on the show.
We'll elaborate on that when we get to Cowboys Giants, because Idris and I actually did bring up this subject recently.
Yeah, but I think they just need to get healthy. But teams like this that stack it, I haven't seen anything from the Dodgers in the last I don't know how many years to say they're going to win the World Series.
And you don't respect that pandemic World Series because of the fact that it wasn't even half a season played, right?
No.
You mean a 60-game season doesn't count? Hold on.
You know what's annoying? I actually think that if it was a regular kind of deal where the Rays could have played in their home stadium, because they had when the season started, they had delegated certain stadiums for the postseason. It just happened that Cleveland was one of the host cities, and they happened to play the Yankees. It wasn't about sticking it to the Yankees. It didn't matter. The Yankees actually won that series.
Yeah.
But the point I'm making is, I don't know. The Rays hung with them, and I do believe that had the Rays got to, the Trop is a weird place, and the Rays do. To a level, not this, but this is not a good season to make that claim.
This is probably the worst they've had in years, man.
Yeah, Kevin Cash is a great manager, but when you lose Wander Franco under the circumstances that you did, and the team already has a very limited budget, it's just been a rough go this year. And you did mention the Rays. They may be a team that's moving some parts to try to continue to do what their formula suggests they do. And that's keep filtering in talent on a budget, and it has worked. Kevin Cash is a great manager.
That's what I mean. The Rays. Yes,
I was going to say, I look at the Rays. I got to think that guys like Zach Eflin are going to be trade commodities because that's a guy that can go into any organization to change something and help out a pitching staff. Going back to the Dodgers, I will say one name because you mentioned Mookie Betts. I've mentioned this name before. If there's someone that I think the Dodgers will go all in on that is not a pitcher, that's Bo Bichette. Because you look at the Blue Jays, they're going to make either Bo Bichette or Vlad Jr. available. They're going to listen.
No, if you're running the team. Now, if you're running the team, Zap, who's the player that you would choose to build around?
I would choose to build around Bo Bichette because to me, shortstop is the most important position.
Agree with you. Completely agree with you.
I see the shortstop like a center, man, in football.
No, it's valid. It's valid.
Center fielder and shortstops are the two hardest positions to play, as well as third base, but they are the most skilled position. Those guys that play shortstop, you have to be able to read the ball off the bat immediately. And we're not talking about reacting to a 60-mile-per-hour ball coming at you. We're talking about a ball coming out with 105 to 120 miles per hour of velocity. So, you know, that those kinds of things are important. And if you don't have a shortstop, I mean, that can honestly make or break a team. And as we see with the Dodgers, not having Mookie Betts, while they have been able to sustain their lead in the division, if they don't have Mookie Betts in the playoffs, they're not going to go anywhere. So if you could bring in a guy like Bo Bichette, I think that'll help that team continue on with what they're planning on. Is it enough to top the Phillies? Maybe, maybe not, because right now the Phillies are on another world.
Yep.
Now, that's just one of the guys I'm watching out for.
Now, this is kind of interesting, right? So we all agree that Bo Bichette, because of the position value, would be the proper guy to build around. I completely agree with you, Zappy. You'll get a charge out of this. In my MLB The Show season, the Toronto Blue Jays traded both their assets in my particular season. And it's very similar to what's going on in real life. Underachieving season. They fired their manager. So Mattingly's already the manager in my season. Vlad Guerrero is...
Did you download yours or did you bought the disc?
What I did is I downloaded the current rosters into last year's game.
Okay.
So basically, it's an updated game. It's just the 23 version. I usually buy the show every other year.
The reason I asked, because like with Madden, my 24, I bought the downloaded version. I didn't buy the disc. Right. I noticed how they really update shit, you know.
But to answer your question, more times than not, because I'm lazy, I usually just put them in the system. But, you know, the downfall of that is if your system gets fried, you lose a lot. We're going to hit on NCAA 25 in just a moment since the video game thing came in. So Vlad Guerrero's a Rocky, but this is the thing that's rather comical. Bo Bichette gets traded to the Rays in my season.
Oh, you talking about your season? Oh, I like
Yeah.
Like, man, when did that happen?
Too bad.
And, you know, the other name.
Yeah. Oh, but check this out. Presley reunited with A.J. Hinch in Detroit in my season.
I was going to say Vlad Guerrero in Colorado. I was like, oh, my good. This guy's going to go up.
You know, that's a good now that you mentioned that'd be one way AJ Hinch might be able to find some forgiveness out of Yankees fans if he gives Tariq Skubal to that team for not much, you know. Like, I don't think it's going to be not much, but if there's one thing that maybe he's got lingering in the back of his mind, hey, why not help out the Yankees? And maybe the fans will kind of back off me a little bit. Look, I like what the headline is.
At least the three gentlemen that founded the Jordan Patrick Show might be a little cooler with him.
No, and then the other guy I'm looking at is what's his name? Mason Miller or from the A's?
Yeah, Mason Miller's good.
He's a guy that was starting and is now we saw what he did in the All-Star game. We've seen what he's done all season long. The kid can pitch. He's going to eventually be back into the starting rotation, whether it's with the Athletics or Yankees or whatever team it is. That's another guy that I want to see. Do the A's move on from him? And are the Orioles a team that'll go after him? Would they know? Because I don't think so. They have Kate Krimble, who he's a great closer for them as it is. But it's just one of those. If you need a rotation guy, or I'm sorry, a bullpen guy, why not go after him?
Similarly to how the Yankees don't exactly trust Clay Holmes all the way, because it's a tale of like almost two halves of the first half, because it's like 20 appearances, he was money. Then you have 7 not so good. And I'll be honest, that most recent blown save, that's on his defense. But the bottom line is that you could track it back even to last year. I'm not saying Clay Holmes is not capable of closing games, and it's all about situations. But I want to get another guy in there that's capable to close games, and then you kind of mix and match if you're Aaron Boone how to deploy these guys. Because the thing is, yes, you did get Juan Soto, and we'll find out if he's going to be a Yankee past this year. But you gave up Michael King. Jonathan Loaisiga's out for the year. He got hurt in the second series of the year out in Arizona. Wandy Peralta signed elsewhere in the offseason. So you have lost a decent amount of who you were as a bullpen. I mean, and let's be real. I like Luke Weaver to a level. I thought Ferguson was going to be a lot better than he has been. But the point is that this bullpen, although they are doing an admirable job, is not the pen that they had a year ago. And the Yankees have to shore that up if they have aspirations of getting that elusive 28th world title. And, keep it in New York for a second. Chris Dixon, friend of the show, big Orioles fan, he and I spoke off air a while ago. And this is while the Mets were still kind of sucking. And we agreed that Pete Alonso might be a guy that would look good in an Oriole uniform. And the Mets would love nothing else than to feed the Yankees' main adversary this season a huge player like that, because the Orioles, that one position is a position where you pencil him in immediately because they have other guys that have kind of mixed and matched. But now that the Mets are literally on the cusp of where they need to be down the stretch run for this wild card, he's not going to get sold now. But this trade deadline from MLB is going to be very, very interesting. And the Oakland Athletics are going to be deciding the fate of a lot of races. Even Rooker might be a Philly.
But, I was going to ask you that. Do you think the A's will go fire sale, or will they just say, look here?
I think the A's are rather respectable, all things considered. But yes, they're going to keep some pieces, but yeah, there's going to be some movement.
I think, all right, so I'll say this about the A's. What do we know about the Oakland/Las Vegas/Sacramento A's?
They got a lot of names.
Yeah, well, that, and they're not going to be in Las Vegas for a couple of years.
Yeah. Oakland, so Sacramento, Las Vegas, A's, Olivia Newton-John.
Yeah, so I look at the A's. If there's one thing that I would do if I'm the A's, you sell hard and build to make that splash in 2 years when you move to Vegas. One name that I'm going to throw out to you guys, not a pitcher, but it is a hitter, something that I think would help shore up the Yankees lineup. At least, and he would be able to come in there, be your leadoff hitter, move Ben Rice down to number 6, and that's Jazz Chisholm of the Marlins. I think that's a guy that
wasn't the guy I was going to mention. That's a good shout, Zap.
So I think the Yankees are in a prime position right now. And then you think about it too, you still have Jason Dominguez, who's going to be a great player for you guys, that he's going to be here next year. Yeah. But if you could bring in a Jazz Chisholm in front of Juan Soto, in front of Aaron Judge,
that does transform that lineup.
You could leave Aaron Judge at right field. Soto is now your primary DH, and you put Jazz over in center field, Verdugo left field. I mean, that would help the Yankees lineup so much, because a bat like Ben Rice, while he's been doing great leading off for you guys, I think if you put him at the number 6 or 7 hole, that's a great spot for him.
No, I like it because it's not a permanent solution to have him up there. Part of the reason why he got the chance is because Volpe had been struggling. He had a good game last night. Nobody with a bat in their hand did anything for the Yankees today. But while we're on the topic of MLB, before we get into video games and then move it to the NFL, I had to ask you boys this. We talked about our team. Now we're going to talk about Zap's team. Do the Texas Rangers have enough time to get into the playoffs and defend their World Series title, given that we had made mention in the past, Seattle Mariners did not bury the 2 Texas teams. Now the Houston Astros are a division leader after that horrific start to their year. As guys are going to gradually be getting healthy. Scherzer just pitched the other day. Unfortunately, Eovaldi had a start to forget against the Orioles, but he is a quality pitcher. I don't know if it even makes sense for DeGrom to come back this year, if he's getting close. It really hinges on where your team is. But do you think your team has enough time?
Enough time. We have 60 games left on the year, roughly. Obviously, we opened up the post All-Star break against the Orioles, and that's no easy task. But after this series with Baltimore, they have the White Sox at home, at Toronto, at St. Louis, versus Boston at home, versus Houston at home. This is all leading up to the trade deadline. If the Rangers do not go, if they don't sweep the White Sox and then take 2 of 3 against Toronto, we will be hard sellers. It'll be too long, too gone. I mean, we're now 6 games back of Houston. Crazy to say that. as they defeated Seattle again tonight to take a 1-game lead over Seattle. The thing about the Rangers, though, is it's not so much the pitching that's affecting us. It's actually been the teams hitting. Guys like Adolis Garcia, who last year was having a phenomenal season.
Oh, yeah, he was approaching Reggie Jackson and Bernie Williams territory.
Eight home runs in the playoffs last year. And his bat has just been quiet. He does not look like he's hustling out there. And then you look at guys like Corey Seager, when he normally bats around 300, he's batting 265 or something like that this year. Just things are not really adding up, but the time is running out. I mean, it's going to come up to these next couple of series to know. But personally, I think it's almost out of reach. I mean, we're 6 games under 500, 6 games back of the Astros. The Astros are playing some great ball right now. Let's be real. As they've gotten healthier, they've been playing better. They're a team to watch out when it comes to playoff time. They're not done yet. What's
interesting is that they don't have Dusty, and the lights are still coming on second half. Managerially, we know that Bruce Bochy is a terrific manager, one of the absolute best in our lifetime.
I think it's going to be hard for Texas to come back. You got Boston, you got Kansas City, the Royals, which I'm kind of surprised. You got Boston, Kansas City up there.
Royals got a nice little nucleus. I think if they get in, I mean, Boston's hanging around. Alex Cora has those guys a couple of years ahead of schedule.
That's what I mean. You know, I think they're like 9th in the AL. I mean, that's a lot to climb, man. And
right now, so looking at the Rangers, obviously they're in 3rd place in the division, but if you're looking at it from a wild card perspective, they actually have a better chance of winning the division than catching up on the wild card.
Yes, and that's the reason why I say I'm not ready to just sink them yet. I want to see what they do in the next 25 games, because if they can make some headway, it's still possible. But that's, you know, when you win a world championship, you could kind of forgive what's happened this year due to injuries, because this is the kind of roster that can reload immediately and be right back in the thick of it a year from now. And it's so funny because Zappy and I recall when Aaron Judge busted the 62 record, Zappy and I were speaking about how we didn't feel that the Rangers were that far from competing for a championship, and they turn around and the very next year win it all as a wild card, no less, you know. But
it's
the Garcia thing does worry me, though, because a Bochy-led team is not going to tolerate that kind of crap.
Well, you know, it's funny you say a Bochy-led team. What people tend to forget is while the Rangers do have the best manager currently, I mean,
I agree.
4-time World Series champ.
And I respectfully give Kevin Cash an honorable mention.
But the one thing is, this is going according to plan. If you look at the Giants in the early 2010s, they win one, and then they fall back drastically. They retool, reload, and they come back and win one. Then they fall back, and that's exactly what's happened.
Yeah.
So to answer your question,
that's a good point.
I think our season is almost to the breaking point where it's over. Jacob deGrom,
man,
if we don't close the gap and get within 3 games in the next 2 weeks before the deadline, shut him down. Don't even let him pitch. There's no point. There's no point whatsoever.
He's too valuable for your window. Window of adding to the trophy case.
There's guys in the minors, guys like Jack Leiter, who I'd like to see come back up. Owen White. There's so many guys down there that, hey, let's get them some innings pitched to get ready for next year. Because even a guy like Kumar Rocker, who he suffered had Tommy John surgery last year, it set him back a year, but hasn't been looking too bad. So I want to see these young guys come in and get ready, because really, when you look at Texas, we suffered. I mean, we had 13 pitchers on IL at one point.
Yeah,
our starting rotation. I
can't remember the last time I seen a team that depleted.
It was horrible.
I thought you guys had the same training staff as my beloved New York Giants.
So no, I look at them, and that's why I think the Rangers are in a good spot, because they can actually be a team that's a hard sell. That's going to get in some young arms, young bats for next year and moving forward, because you still have guys like Wyatt Langford, who is an up-and-coming star for not only the Rangers, but in Major League Baseball. Evan Carter has been out for most of the year. Josh Young's been out for most of the year. Like, you're bringing these bats back. Let's get healthy and run it back next year. Because right now we just don't have it. I mean, I'm a realist. I'm going to say it how it is. We're too far back. We're not playing good ball. This series against the Orioles was the one where I would say if we take 2 of 3 against Baltimore, then I feel good for the rest of the year. But not only did we lose the first 2, I mean, they have been smoking Texas.
They've been smoking, yeah.
Yeah, they're getting some just revenge when you guys are vulnerable after the beatdown you gave them a year ago. Idris, you mentioned USA basketball surviving something very close. I will be right back, boys. Just got to get a refill.
USA basketball. The WNBA beat the USA basketball. 117, 109, I think it was.
And I got to say one thing about the game. While a lot of people are sitting here saying, you and I have been huge proponents for Caitlin Clark. She should have been on Team USA representing for the Olympics. Yeah. And a lot of people are saying, if there's a snub, it would have been Arike Ogunbowale, the game's MVP tonight. But the only thing people need to remember is Arike, she pulled herself out of the running because she said the Olympics was too political and she did not want to play. So that's what people need to understand. But as far as the Team WNBA, Caitlin Clark going out there having 10 assists, only had 4 points, but she did her job as an assister. She did what she's supposed to do. Exactly. And then seeing her and Angel Reese team up, this rivalry that we saw in college to now transition to the WNBA, I want to see these girls play together. I want to see Caitlin and Angel Reese because, quite frankly, those are, we've all said it. That's Magic. That's Larry. These two together have been phenomenal. And Idris, what was the point I brought up to you the other day while you were proving a point? And I said, if people really have an issue with Caitlin Clark, all you got to do is tell them to go look at ticket prices for all of Caitlin Clark's games. They were just in Dallas. I was going to take my boy to Dallas to go see him play against the Dallas Wings. Tickets were going for $275, the cheapest. And I'm like, Cowboys tickets are not even that expensive.
Last year, it was like $25.
Yeah, exactly. And all the rest of the games are cheap. That is what Caitlin Clark is doing. That is what Angel Reese is doing. And quite frankly, if Cameron Brinkley didn't get hurt, she'd be doing the same thing too. What these women are doing right now for the WNBA is a beautiful thing. And not only is it beautiful, it is kind of putting the NBA to the side where a lot of people don't realize that South Sudan almost beat Team USA today. And it came down to the final second.
Final shot. They had a chance to win.
But can you imagine the recourse? I understand like last go around in the prelims that loss to France and then the USA woke up. But man, that's a completely different underdog if they would have not held on. And
they had the ball in their hands. They missed a shot. They had the rebound. They could have won that game. Unbelievable. They could have won that game. But as for Caitlin Clark, and I agree, everything you said about Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, I agree. Me and Zappy, we're on the same page with that. What angers me about these fans, and a lot of them don't even watch the games. I can tell that already. They don't watch the games. They are the ones that seem to have more of a problem with Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark than Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese have.
And that's comical because at least when Bird and Magic were super young and green and just getting used to the NBA game, there was a legitimate amount of disdain with those two. But I think it was an obsession with wanting to be the best that drove those two. And honestly, these women have that in common. But to your point, they don't have that same kind of ugliness towards each other.
They don't have that beef towards each other. But the fans on both sides are like, I've been a Reese fan since she played at Maryland, and I became a bigger fan because she came to LSU. And I hate the fans, and I'm speaking for the black side. I hate the way my people are acting towards Caitlin Clark. Reese is the MVP, the rookie of the year. Only reason Clark's going to get it because she's white privileged. Clark is going to win it because the girl can ball.
She's balling.
She's
doing her job.
And she's been getting hated on by pretty much every
points
every veteran in that league. Like Diana Taurasi was trying to talk shit and intimidate her.
She leads every category except for rebounds over things. And the one stat I put up there that she leads over
blocks.
Reese is blocks. This is a guard.
Yeah, that's impressive.
It's
Playing
look,
that position.
and
Yeah, that's impressive.
what's crazy is people don't even realize what's coming because there's a young lady by the name of Paige Beckers that's coming out next year.
Yeah,
That
she's
she's going to make a
She's gonna
storm
be a
into the
boss.
WNBA. And, like, I haven't been this excited about the WNBA in quite some time because let's be real, when the WNBA first started, we were so used to Houston winning year in and year out with that great trio of players.
Perot, Cooper, and Swoops. Yeah.
They busted up the Liberty. They busted.
Yeah. And now we say the Liberty. I asked you guys recently, is this the best chance that we're going to see a New York basketball team win the championship with Breonna Stewart? I think so. I think we're finally going to see.
I'll tell you what.
Championship there.
In that Liberty locker room, they want to get it before the Knicks because there is some dry hate.
It is.
There is some dry hate from the women towards the men. We'll hit on the Knicks in a moment.
But, you know what? But look, the Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese thing, it's not going to end. You know why? When Paige come out, Juju's coming out.
Oh yeah,
Juju. It's going to be the same thing.
Yeah,
it's going to be the same black and white. Blah 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 blah. Like, let these girls came out of college. They built the WNBA. They basically put the WNBA on the map.
The only color that they need to be concentrating on is green because these young women are making that league money, something that no other era of WNBA basketball players can say.
They just started not flying coach commercial.
For real.
Because the two girls that came out of college.
And Idris, you've said it on many shows that when Indiana is constantly demanding bigger venues.
Yes, because of who?
You already know. You already know. I got a question for you, Idris. Zappy, I'm sure will chime.
Yeah.
We're going to move it to the NFL for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Will Baltimore close the gap on the Chiefs?
Yes, I think they will. Is
this Baltimore's year, or do you think the Chiefs are ultimately three-peating, or do you think it's too early to really know?
Go ahead. I know what I'm going to say. All right. So I think the gap is actually not closing with the Ravens because I think that division is going to go back to Cincy. I'm expecting Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins to come out and blow up. We have not seen Joe Burrow healthy like this, for one. That's scary.
That's valid.
He is the second best quarterback in the NFL. I have no problem saying that. I think we're going to see another AFC championship game between Kansas City and as well as Cincinnati. Baltimore, I like it. I like the fact that they brought Derrick Henry in, but I think the loss of Patrick Queen is going to be a bigger loss.
That is a wild one going to the Steelers. That is an interesting one.
And plus, it scares me with the Chiefs because we saw the amount of adversity that team had to overcome last year. I mean, when we talk about adversity, that was the definition of adversity. We all counted them out. I mean, everybody in the playoffs. And that's what I said. I'm never going against the Chiefs again. Will they three-peat? I think this is the best opportunity.
While he's in mid-sentence, I have a second question for
him. Bengals.
I have a dark horse.
For me, it's Bengals.
A team that I think matches up well with them if everything is on the up and up in terms of health. Mm-hmm. I think the New York Jets.
That's who I got.
Can present some serious problems to the Kansas City Chiefs if their defense is playing at the level I think they can.
I will say this. Mm-hmm. I agree with the Jets, but, and I say when they do because I think it's inevitable. When Devontae Adams is traded to the New York Jets,
you know it's coming. It's coming.
You're talking about Rodgers having a much better offensive line this year.
And 48 hours before the season opener, he's going to talk Randall Cobb out of retirement.
No, but you look at what they did. They improved the offensive line. They brought in Mike Williams, who he's a good number 2, but he'd be a great number 3.
Yeah.
Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams.
Oh, yeah, as a number 3, that's exactly what you need, especially with his history.
And they already have a great defense.
Their defense is sick. I'm a little worried about Hassan Reddick buying into the Jet culture because he did seem rather perturbed that he had to play there.
I think he'll I think he'll be like, okay, let's go.
And I guess after a while, kind of like the Freddie Freeman thing with the Dodgers. After being pissed off for a while, he's like, "Yo, these guys are pretty decent. It's time to get to do what we do, which is play ball."
Yeah.
There's one thing that worries me about this New York Jets team.
Mm-hmm.
It's not receiver. It's not offensive line. Even though they signed Tyron Smith, they still went out there and drafted Olufushanu. Mm-hmm. The one thing that worries me about the Jets is their depth at running back, because behind
Breece Hall goes down.
I mean, you're talking about they drafted Braylon Allen out of Wisconsin. They have Isaiah Davis on the lineup. They have no carries, absolutely no carries amongst them. If Breece Hall goes down, and we've already seen him go down once in his young career, if he goes down, that team is in trouble. And that's what worries me.
And the Jets didn't draft the guy that I wanted them to draft. Not that I give a shit what the Jets do, but just if I'm running things. The kid out of Louisville is a guy that I thought would have been a better fit for that Jet backup role.
I think with
Garendo, I believe is his name.
Oh yeah, I think Baltimore, they closed the gap. But like Zappy said, I'm not going to bet against Patrick Mahomes. I did it. That's the one time in my life I've bet against the Chiefs. Period. In my life.
In terms of dark horses, with Buffalo losing a substantial, Stephon Diggs, even though he's not who he used to be, he's still Stephon Diggs, and Keon Coleman's not Stephon Diggs, and Shakir is not Stephon Diggs. I love what Kincaid offers to fantasy owners this year. Buffalo's defense and Buffalo's running game still has to get it done to win in January into ultimately February. Josh Allen is a gamer. But that other team that plays down south, the Dolphins, you bring in an OBJ who I actually think is going to benefit immensely from playing with Hill and Waddle. But if Achane and Mostert both could stay healthy, do they have enough to be that full offense? Because it was a cool story last year. Raheem Mostert leading the NFL in a tie with Christian McCaffrey for total scores. That's pretty cool. There's no way that he'll have that production this year. I'm still freezing him. But I guess what I'm saying is Mike McDaniel, I think this is a make or break year for him.
I don't have okay, is that
Miami's going to be a good team this year. Miami's going to be a good team. The team we saw Tua, a couple years ago, we're talking about Tua, he should retire. I mean, we're seeing him crippled on the field after a concussion. And he came back. He shut everyone up. He played a full season.
He's certainly, especially Brett.
Especially Brett. He's trying to get paid. And he's going to get paid. Bringing in OBJ is going to help that team. I look at a guy like
more so than the Ravens. He hasn't helped anybody since the Super Bowl.
But he's the number 3 option now.
Right.
Behind 2 of the fastest guys in the NFL. Well, let me rephrase that. They have 4 of the fastest guys in the NFL between Mostert, A-Chain, Hill, and Waddle. But you look at their schedule to start off the year: at home Jacksonville, at home Buffalo, at Seattle, at home Tennessee, at New England. They can start off 5-0. And if you start off 5-0 in today's NFL, that's usually a good sign of how the season is going to go.
They mentally have to get over Buffalo.
They have to.
Buffalo has been in their head the last couple of years.
But with Miami, if you look at how their season finishes, at Green Bay, at Houston, at Cleveland, at New York, those are 4 of their final 6 games.
Not to mention that 3 of those are going to be in weather that Miami doesn't thrive in.
That's exactly my point.
That's why I don't have faith. I don't have faith in them.
That's the exact reason why.
Yep,
exactly. And
exactly why I don't have faith in them.
Because they're gonna get off to a hot start. If you look at their schedule, they're gonna have 2 losses probably through 11 games. But if they cannot get the number 1 or 2 seed, they will not succeed in the playoffs again. Because as we have seen,
and even
over
last
and over
year,
again,
they had it right in front of them, and they let it go in their home stadium.
Exactly.
And were it not for Tyler Bass, and were it not for that Allen throw was going to get where it needed to go if Chris Jones didn't become one with the back of his jersey.
But, I mean, look at it. At Green Bay, New York Jets at home. At Houston, Niners at home. At Cleveland,
those
at New York
are
Jets.
4 Super Bowl contenders, maybe 5. I
don't have
am
faith.
kind of doing a little bit of a spoiler alert, and so much could happen before our previews. But I don't feel good about Deshaun Watson in Cleveland, and that's why I have them being the only team in that division that's not invited to the party.
I have them as the 4th place team because of
Yeah, me
that
too.
one name right you said.
Oh wow! So we're all in agreement
but-
here.
Well, you know,
Not
I
to
thought that
mention
way
Nick
last year
Chubb
about
coming off that horrific injury.
I don't have confidence in Deshaun Watson.
The team that I'm gonna say that can actually put a challenge on the Chiefs, you guys are gonna be surprised at what I'm gonna say, is the team that we expected more of last year. And I think it's the team that's going to win the AFC South, that being the Jacksonville Jaguars, because we put so much hype on the Jaguars, and then they took a huge step back. People are putting so much hype on Houston.
That Lawrence injury really did them.
I didn't trust
that was a pivotal game they lost to Cincinnati. Go ahead, Idris.
I haven't trusted Jacksonville since they drafted Trevor Lawrence. When he came out of college, I said, that guy likes to turn the ball over.
But I actually do have a feeling that him and Herbert
I don't trust either one of them.
I
think Herbert improved this year because of Jim
Harbaugh. But I think all in all, Herbert's been pretty good when you consider how inconsistent the health has been on his teams with the skill positions. And then you have Austin Eckler, recently former Charger, now a Commander, bitching and moaning about his workload. I'm like, bro, then don't be a running back and shut up.
Yeah. No, I just don't trust Jacksonville. Be honest with you, I think they're going to finish third this year, man.
See, I think they're going to take the division because now everyone knows who Houston is. I think Houston's going to take a step back, especially when you look at their schedule.
I'm in second.
I'm intrigued with Indy. I'm intrigued with Indy.
Indy is the team that's going to be the wild card. But when you look at what Jacksonville did, I mean, they brought Gabe Davis in. They draft Brian Thomas, who a lot of people thought was the best receiver in this year's draft. That moves Parker Washington down, who I like, but he's a great number 4. Brings Devin Duvernay to return kicks. Arik Armstead, though, from the 49ers, is going to help that defense dramatically.
Yeah, joining the other Josh Allen.
I think bringing Duvernay in, I think that's going to be something. That's your field position right there.
Absolutely. Yeah, especially this year that they're changing the rules on to make the game because NFL fans miss the kickoff.
But
it's kickoff rule. Okay, go ahead, Zach.
No, I was going to say, but when I compare Houston and Jacksonville's schedule, I like Jacksonville's schedule more.
Yeah.
That's just my
They
personal
gotta
preference.
Get better at home. They've had a bad propensity for just not playing well.
Now that they know they're staying there for 30 years, I think they're going to do better.
Yeah. And speaking on the kickoff rule, that's why that's why Pittsburgh brought in Cordell Patterson.
Oh, that was in my opinion, was the free agent signing.
Let's go get this guy.
Because now we're paying more attention. We're paying more attention. Oh my God! You know what's funny? It's not far fetched that he can still perform at a high level.
Yeah, but he can't come out since he's now a Hall of Famer.
Who's that?
Yeah, Hester made it.
Oh yeah. Hester made it. Man, if Hester played today, godly.
Even a guy like a Dante Hall would probably thrive.
You would have to put 15 players on the field, man. Yeah, Dante
Hall was very special.
Kick every game.
Lower level.
15 player. Yeah, you could still keep your 11 players. Just have a lot of Mike Tomlins all around the field trying to trip him as he's returning it.
You know who else would do good? Des Bryant, because he was a pretty good kick returner.
Yeah. In his younger years, Des was a decent kick returner. I'm going to give out a shout to a name that you probably haven't heard in a very long time. Vi Sekahema. Philadelphia Eagles. He didn't play on very good Eagle teams, but he was an exciting guy to watch.
He bring that ball back, though.
Zappy, sell this game to Idris and I, because I think we're all going to want to buy it. What is your review on NCAA 25 for the PS5?
Daddy's home. That's my review. As soon as I put that disc in. All right, so 2 things. I blasted my volume almost to the max. And I mean, the fact that it gives you each team's introduction is what gives me the chills of how each team comes out in actual games. I mean, from
Virginia Tech must be insane.
I haven't done the Virginia Tech one yet. That one's coming up here probably in the next 20 minutes, actually. My son and I said we're going to do entrances. Of course, we did Notre Dame's, we did
Yeah.
UT's, we did LSU's. LSU's was pretty dope,
I
actually.
think Michigan, man.
Michigan
Oh, yeah,
was pretty
Big
good.
House,
Hey,
yeah.
I will say this:
Yeah.
playing Michigan, I played Michigan yesterday.
Yeah.
Holy crap! That is one of the hardest teams to play to stop the run. I mean, their
Oh, yeah.
blocking looks like you're watching them on actual TV. The game is remarkable. I love the fact that I don't have to sit there for hours inputting name after name after name
Yeah.
to match all the rosters in college football. I love the fact that all the names are out there now.
So the whole collegiate thing, all the kids are all accounted for.
Yep.
Damn, that's
Everyone.
cool.
So that's the one thing I will say. I love about the game has been great. The gameplay is definitely hard.
Good.
I had to take it down a notch because I was like, I had to get used to everything, the controls and all that. It is very entertaining when you're playing on the road, getting that crowd feeling where the whole screen is shaking and all that. These are the things that I have missed for the last 11 years. And, when I bought that game yesterday, or when I picked it up, should I say, I felt complete in my life.
Something, Zappy? That's what people don't realize about college football or the play, college football, the video game. People don't know. I love Madden, but when you play college football, it's a whole different,
a whole new world.
It's a whole. I played the last one,
2014's.
Yeah, I think I played. I don't know how many college football, and golly, that game.
Now, hey, shout out to Denard Robinson. He was the cover of the last one.
I did, yeah.
Wow!
What was his nickname?
Wow!
Shoelace.
Wow!
Yeah, Shoelace. Yeah.
Now I understand. Correct me if I'm wrong, but a friend of mine at work was telling me that you could run with some of like the dynasties and the famous teams of yesteryear because he made a mention to me and name dropped Charlie Ward. And I was like, oh, damn, I don't know if that's the case, but that's pretty dope. If you could run with like Charlie Ward and our man Bar None, who we had the pleasure of having here on the show. Yeah, man. Like, that's pretty insane. And then I even like I got to get this game just to see,
you're going to be hooked. The second I'm going to be honest with you. The second you put that disc in, or if you get the digital copy, you're going to be hooked. You're going to want to play, and then you're going to want to create yourself. You're going to want to build your way up to have to get the starting job for whatever position. Then you're going to want to build your favorite team's dynasty. So Richie, in your case, Notre Dame, Idris, LSU, you're going to want to make them champs. But then you're also going to want to go get a crappy team and build them up because the recruiting on the game is something else. I mean, I'm texting the players. We didn't have that option back then to text them and offer, hey, I will offer you $1.3 million to come play at the University.
You can't. I can't resist.
Because the last one you had to basically, you had to actually recruit. Like you had to each week you had to talk to them. Like, hey, come on.
No, and I don't know if this is true. I can't verify it yet. But apparently you can create fake people to text the players, like create a girl and be like, hey, come out with me and stuff like that. So to make it as realistic as possible to get into these players' heads, because these are the things that college football players are going to have to deal with.
Now I have to be the asshole because I was already thinking about it.
I got to get a PS5.
I know this is out of hand, but I have to say it. Can you imagine if they have like the full detail on and off the field of the Tebow era Florida Gators?
Oh, I'll play with that team. I'll throw to Percy Harvin all day long. That's what I'm going to do.
But I'm not even necessarily intrigued about how wonderful their defense and offense and special teams was. I'm talking more about the like just the whole after effect.
Yeah. Oh, you know what would be great? Since we're talking about Florida, will Aaron Hernandez be on that team? Would they actually put?
I don't know.
That would really be amazing. I'm gonna go find out right now. Hey, I got one question for you guys. It's gonna go back to the NFL, and it just occurred to me. We talked about Devontae Adams. We all expect it to happen. Where is Brandon Ayuk going? Is he staying or is he going?
I think he's gone. I don't know where though.
Yeah. Where is he going? Let me think about this for a moment.
I don't know.
Buffalo, I don't think they could afford him, but I don't think that's where he's going. I don't think he's going to Buffalo.
Got, what's his name up there too? Oh, his brother played. Cook.
I'll tell you where he makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
The Pittsburgh Steelers have one of the more underwhelming receiver rooms in the league, although I do have playoff aspirations for them. That would level out the playing field a little if you add a Brandon Ayuk to that wide receiver room. And I think the happiest guy would be George Pickens.
Oh, yeah.
And Russ or Fields, whichever one is starting.
Absolutely. And I know Mike Tomlin would be thrilled. And I think Jalen Warren is really going to be stepping into Najee Harris's carry share this year.
I think Najee Harris is traded before the deadline.
It wouldn't surprise me.
I'll tell you the truth. That
He's
would
really
not,
underwhelming, man.
Yeah, I tend to agree. After his rookie campaign, I do have a question, guys. We know that Nick Chubb went through hell.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that he will return to form? That they're talking about a limited workload until maybe he gets up to snuff. They're talking week 7, week 8, where he starts hitting the ground for real, like the Nick Chubb we know. But do you think Nick Chubb will be able to make the full recovery and still be that kind of running back? I know that the odds are against him, but when I think about can he do it? And I'm like, well, think of tough guys that played into later years that could do it, and the guys that come to mind: Adrian Peterson, Emmitt Smith, Frank Gore, and actually Orenthal James Simpson. May he rest in peace.
Mm-hmm.
I think Nick Chubb's going to be just fine. Yeah. I think one signing that is not being talked about enough for the Cleveland Browns is bringing in Deontay Foreman, who, we know what they have.
Good shout. Good shout. Because he has toted the rock in the past for limited sample sizes and done rather well.
Absolutely. And when I look at, if you talk about a Jerome Ford and Deontay Foreman, I think they'd be just fine because receiving wise, Amari Cooper, Jerry Jeudy, and Elijah Moore, that's a good group. I don't think. Hey, look, let's put it this way: the running back position is not what it was last year. Do you guys know how many guys finished over 1,200 yards?
How many?
Yeah,
2.
1. Just one guy. That was Christian McCaffrey. That's it.
Okay.
So you can see, and that's why he got another paycheck. Going back to Brandon Ayuk, that's why I think Brandon Ayuk is gone, because they didn't sign him. Hey, well, we don't have the money, but you gave CMC a raise. Well, we don't have the money for you. I want to see him go to Washington. I want to see him team up with his old teammate and Jaden Daniels.
You did mention that. I'm just curious to see if the Niners would feel comfortable keeping him in the conference. As long as it's not the division, it's not the same kind of power.
So hold up. Wait a minute. So you said only one person rushed for over 200 yards, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you mean Saquon Barkley didn't make it over 200 yards? Is that what you're saying? He didn't make it over 200 yards? So we're supposed to pay him $12 million?
All right. So CMC finished with over 1,400 yards last year. The second place guy is the guy that is now in Baltimore, that being Derrick Henry.
Okay, so we know that those two guys are generational because Henry is the prototypical Earl Campbell like power back, whereas CMC is he'll remind you about 3 greats from yesteryear. Now I love these stunads that love to say that he's a generational talent.
Well, hold up. So Saquon, he didn't finish the second either?
That guy who wore Orleans Dark
finished 16th place in the NFL.
16th?
Yeah.
Damn, that's not bad for middle of the pack.
But he wanted CMC money, right? That's what they said, right?
Yeah.
That is not bad for the middle of the pack. I don't know. I mean, man,
he was a feature back, right, for the Giants, right?
Well, I don't know because
he didn't have to share the rock.
Because the problem was this is my thing with features. If I'm going to sum up last year's Giants season in a nutshell, it ended at the matinee because Saquon Barkley missed the toughest stretch of the season.
But he didn't have to share the ball with Gary Brightwell, who we no longer have, right?
So wait, hold on. He missed 1,000 yards last year too, didn't he?
Yeah.
In a 17-game season. So even if you miss a month, you still get that 17th week.
So he played 14 games last year, 960 yards rushing.
So that's a lot of games to not break 1,000.
So we're supposed to pay him $12 million, right?
And may I add that the complimentary piece that we're bringing in that is very familiar with the Dable offense, Mr. Devin Singletary, has always flirted roughly around 900-yard seasons and has never even been the featured back in any backfield that he's been in.
And played every game.
And you know the best thing that I like about this young man, Idris? He actually wants to play here.
Yeah.
That's really cool and swell, man.
Just wanted to know, guys. I just wanted to know. Because if he wasn't the first, if he wasn't
Another
number
thing,
one,
too, I just want to make one other comment about an observation. I'm really glad that A.J. Brown, a true leader of men, is taking him under his wing, taking him to the Philly sports events so you could see OG Anunoby's testicles on Joel Embiid's forehead.
We're talking about the Sixers, the team that might be moving out of Philadelphia here soon. Is that we're talking about I think the 12th most dangerous city now in the country.
The city of brotherly thugs.
The city of brotherly love, where your basketball team wants to leave, your football team.
Even Creed left. Creed went back to Hollywood.
Yep.
That's a great point. No, that might be the only city that has a statue of a fictional character.
And then your continuation of your fictional character's best friend's son, who's essentially his nephew, his unofficial nephew, said, "The hell with this city. I'm going to LA."
The one city that throws every quarterback under the bus. One
thing that we unify on, no matter our own divisional issues with one another in our illustrious histories. You know, man, Zap, I just want to say, we have our differences, Cowboys and the G-men. But, man, we have 9 combined Lombardis. That's kind of cool. I couldn't imagine being my age and only having one to look at. That would be really uncomfortable.
I couldn't imagine being my age and, let's see, that was 2017. So having to wait 35 years of my life to see the first one, or some people having to wait 57 years to see the first one, or what's he got?
Oh, I could read it backwards. Dyslexia, baby.
I could definitely read that backwards all day.
Dyslexia, shades of Sammy the Bull. For Mr. Idris Salam and for Mr. Mike Zappy, I'm your host, Richie. This has been an awesome show. Zappy, it's great to have you back in the fold. Guys, roughly a month out. Actually, less than a month out.
Hall of Fame games in a couple weeks.
Yeah, 20 days or so. But we're going to be ramping it up with football. We're going to be on top of MLB. Oh, last thing on the way out. How about those Brooklyn Nets paying Ben Simmons for this particular upcoming season the same amount that it cost the New York Knickerbockers to pay Jalen Brunson, Dante DiVincenzo, and Deuce McBride? Put that in your pipe and smoke it, Brooklyn. 2 more birds for you. Have a good night, everybody. I'm going to get going because I'm being really toxic right now.
Mets, Nets, Bonilla, and Simmons.
Just end the season, must end the season, and you get where I'm going.
One last thing. Great job by the Mets today. Great heads-up play to knock a ball foul when it was clearly knocked foul, and it allowed 3 runs to score against the Pirates. Mets doing your thing.
The Mets being the Mets.
Shouts out Richard Dorney. And on that note, we out.